Hello and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to a session where we will have a look at a comprehensive strategy plan for those appearing for the Civil Services Examination 2026. We will have a look at the plan for prelims as well as the mains examination so that you can ace both of them. But at the same point of time, I will also tell you certain important pointers or the learnings that you'll have to take forward from the Civil Services Examination 2025. But before I start the discussion, a very important announcement. Those who are aiming to ace the CSE 2026 or 2027, please follow 5 principles to clear the exam. One, you need to have a comprehensive coverage of the static portion. Second, just covering the static portion is not sufficient. You'll have to update that with current affairs. Third, you'll have to have very good study material. Fourth, you'll have to attempt multiple test series for prelims, and fifth, for mains. All of this you can avail if you purchase our course, which is available at a price of 19,999 as of now. At the same point of time, if you use the code IAS English, you can also get an extension of up to 12 months. Those who are interested can check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description below. Let me start the discussion. Before telling you the strategy for the CSE 2026, what should you learn? What should you take away from the CSE Prelims 2025? Here are the important points. Point number one, for the first time ever in the last 1 decade, UPSC in the prelims has started asking calculation based questions. Yes, you heard it right. Not in the CSAT, but in the GS paper 1. In the GS paper, if you look at the last 5 years question papers or the last 10 years question papers, you will never see a question asking you to calculate something. The question is either factual in nature or conceptual or a mixture of both. But for the first time ever, there were 2 questions in the preliminary examination where certain deficits related questions were provided or were given by UPSC. Numbers were given. For example, in one of the question, UPSC said, if the government borrows this much amount of money, revenue expenditure is this much, revenue receipts is this much, what are the different deficits? Options were given and you were expected to calculate. So for the first time, I reiterate this, calculation based questions were given. So next time when you're solving, when you're reading these particular concepts, just keep an eye open regarding how formula can be utilized to calculate numbers. Point number 2, elimination based question. Elimination based question. I still remember 3 years ago in the UPSC GS paper preliminary examination, hardly there was 1 or 2 questions where the aspirants were able to use elimination. That is based on, let's say, 3 statements. One of the statement would be incorrect. You can use that to eliminate the 3 of the options and only the remaining option would be correct. And the students were so furious, so frustrated, saying that we have practiced so many elimination based questions, but hardly 1 or 2 elimination based questions are there. And that was the time period when UPSC introduced 3 statement based questions. And because the 3 statements were given, elimination was very difficult. For the first time after 2 or 3 years, UPSC has given multiple questions. I repeat, multiple questions where you can use one of the statements to eliminate 3 of the options and the left out option would be straightforward an answer for you. One question, I'll just quote here. There was a question on the 15th Finance Commission. And one of the statements simply read, 45% is the divisible pool of taxes recommendation of 15th FC, which is a straightforward false statement, incorrect statement. The right statement is 40% is the right percentage of vertical devolution. You could use this statement, eliminate the 3 option, get the right option. So elimination based question, multiple of them were given under multiple subjects in the prelims 2025, including under the subject of Indian economy. Third, as usual, the area of Reserve Bank of India or the chapter of Reserve Bank of India was given predominance. Multiple questions were asked related to the functions or the concepts associated with Reserve Bank of India. But after multiple years, suddenly UPSC has given more focus, more emphasis on the chapter of budgeting. Generally, if you see and you analyze the UPSC question papers in the last 10 years, you will see that around 15 to 16 questions are asked in Indian economy. And out of 15 to 16 questions, generally around 4 questions will be from subject or the topic of banking, and most of the questions will be surrounding the concept of Reserve Bank of India. And usually, apart from the Reserve Bank of India, questions will be asked on agriculture, international trade, financial market, inflation, etc. But this year, there was a slight change in the pattern, which essentially means, as usual, questions from Reserve Bank of India were asked. But in addition to this, there are multiple questions which were asked associated with budget. That is the concepts associated with budget. For example, two questions were asked on deficits. One question was asked on what will happen when the revenue expenditure increases or when the liabilities increase, when the assets change, etc. And here you need to make a note of this. This can be either a permanent shift in the structure of the questions which are being asked, or a permanent the temporary change, which many of the times you must have seen in the UPSC. For example, this shift can basically indicate to you that if 4 questions are asked in budgeting in the preliminary examination, in the mains examination, where generally one question used to come from budgeting, may not be asked by UPSC. Right? So these kind of probabilities or the analysis or the trend analysis you people need to do. So this is the third very important takeaway. And the fourth very important takeaway, multiple questions were purely conceptual based and multiple questions were factual based. Straightforward, either you know the answer or you don't know the answer. I'll give you one example. There was one question where multiple departments were given, 3 departments. It was a match the following question. And associated with these 3 departments, there were 2 more columns where the department comes under which ministry and what is the function of the department were given. And you are asked to find out how many of these pairs are correct or incorrect. This is purely a factual question. And these kind of questions generally are asked in UPSC prelims. You do not have to be worried, because in that case, UPSC is expecting you to remember all the ministries, all the departments, all the offices of the central government. That is not at all required. These are extreme kind of questions where either you know the answer or you don't know the answer. But what is the area where you can focus and score a lot of marks? Because the factual based questions are very few. Lot of these questions or majority of these questions are conceptual in nature, where the UPSC is expecting you to have understood what is the policy of MSP, what is the deficit concept, what is the function of a finance commission, what is the role of Reserve Bank of India in promoting growth, controlling inflation, etc., etc. So these are the 4 very important takeaways that you need to understand and carry forward for your preparation for CSE 2026, specifically under the subject of Indian economy. Now, before I tell you what strategy you should follow, listen to me very carefully. A lot of you, when you start preparing for the civil services, you'll make one mistake, which at that point of time might look very silly. But when you finish the preparation or you are in the midway of the preparation, you will realize the preparation is not going as per your expectation. You are reading, you are spending a lot of time, but the outcome is not satisfactory when you look at the marks that you are scoring in the test series. That happens for a very simple reason, you have not seen one, the syllabus, and you have not seen the previous year question papers. Both are non negotiable. You will have to look at it. You will have to go through the syllabus. You will have to go through at least the last 5 years question papers. And what is the use of doing both of this? You might be thinking, sir, anyways, I will attempt the exam. I will read whatever is taught. I will read the newspaper. I will go attend the exam. What is wrong with that strategy? My dear, in civil services examination, it is important to know what to read, for what area to read, how much to read. What do I mean by this? If you look at the syllabus for the preliminary examination, one line is quoted by UPSC. Just one line associated with economics. Economic and social development, sustainable development, poverty, inclusion, demographic, social sector initiatives, etc. Will that single line tell you how much you should read about Reserve Bank of India? Will this single line tell you what you should read about balance of payments? What you should read under agriculture, etc.? Absolutely no. So, one, if you have not seen the syllabus, you don't know what to read. And if you have not seen the previous year question papers, you will not know how much to read as well. For example, let's say there is an area International Monetary Fund. There is one area World Bank. There is a World Trade Organization. Now tell me, if you have not seen the question papers of the last 5 years, will you know what kind of questions are asked by UPSC? You will not know. And if you do not know what kind of questions are asked by UPSC, how much will you read about World Trade Organization? How much will you read about, let's say, concepts such as a GDP? How much will you read about the concepts such as inflation? That is the precise reason. This is my advice to all of you. First, go through the syllabus. I will show it to you. You do not have to worry. And second, please go through the previous year question papers whenever you read these particular concepts, especially if you are doing self study. Everybody has to do this, but especially those who are doing the self study will must have to go through these two documents. So, this is the syllabus for the preliminary examination. Mains is much more elaborative. Under GS paper 3, economics or Indian economy comes under GS paper 3. So, according to the UPSC examination syllabus that is published, at least in GS paper 3, they have given you the division. They have given you different topics, different chapters that you need to go through, from where or the areas from which questions are asked in the mains examination. And if you're wondering, sir, for prelims you said around 15 to 16 questions will come from Indian economy. What about GS paper 3? How many questions? How many marks are asked from Indian economy areas in the mains examination? GS paper 3, as usual, for compared to other GS papers, will have 20 questions. It will have 20 questions. Out of 20 questions, the first 10 questions are worth 10 marks each, and the next 10 questions are 15 marker each. Out of these, the first 10 questions, 3 to 4 questions will come from these areas, and out of the next 10 questions, around 3 to 4 questions will come from these areas. It could be areas such as inclusive growth, it could be government budgeting, it could be areas such as agriculture or international trade for that matter, poverty for that matter, etc. So totally in the range of 7 to 8 questions out of 20 questions in the GS paper 3 are asked from these areas which fall under the subject or the topic of Indian economy. That, if you convert them into marks, usually in the range of 80 to 100 marks are coming from this area out of 250 marks. Mind you, please make a note of this. So this is essentially the syllabus part. Now let me give you a comprehensive plan as to how to cover the subject of Indian economy. First and foremost, let me clarify one thing. I know a lot of the students from different backgrounds are appearing in the civil services examination. Somebody would be a BTech graduate, somebody will be an MBBS graduate, somebody will be a graduate from the arts background, etc. And one common factor amongst most of the aspirants, not all of them, but most of the aspirants is that they come with a preconceived notion that Indian economy is very difficult. And they will not even think of the term Indian economy, they will simply think of the term economics. They'll simply say, economics is a very difficult subject. I've tried to read something on my own, I've never understood that. So, what would be my strategy? I will read very little about this. If I can understand, I will understand. Otherwise, I'll skip this altogether. I will not take a risk of basically answering these questions. I will get through the UPSC examination. My dear, that is a wrong approach. It's a very much a wrong strategy. Why? 15 questions in prelims and around 80 to 100 marks in the mains. You want to live all of it. You want to simply not score very good number of marks in both of these papers. It would be a wrong strategy. And to be very precise here, to be very frank here, you have made this decision based on something that you have heard, something that you have tried for very little. That is, you are thinking of the subject of economics. And what is required in the prelims as well as the mains examination is not economics, but Indian economy. What you require is economy, not economics. And the basic difference that you need to understand, one is purely a subject, second one is the application part of it. Second one is the application part. So don't simply look at the subject title economics and think of multiple formulas, integration, calculation, graph, etc., and jump to a conclusion. This is difficult. I don't want to read this. I don't want to go through this churn. Don't make that mistake. UPSC will not ask you the theorems. UPSC will not ask you integration in GS paper, be it in the prelims or in the mains examination. What it asks you, what it will test you is in the area of application of the concepts that you have read in the book or in the newspaper. So for comprehensive strategy, what I would recommend to you people is simple. I will divide all the aspirants into two groups. I will divide all the aspirants into two groups. One group will be a beginner. Beginner in the sense, somebody who is hearing the word Indian economy or economics for the first time. They do not have any kind of a touch with the subject. This is the first time they are touching this subject. And the second one will be, right, certain people who already have the background. Who already have the background. What do you mean by background? Listen to me carefully. A lot of aspirants also are graduates in commerce. They have a BBA degree or they have done MBA. And I'm talking about you people who have this kind of a background. Do not be under the assumption that just because you have already gone through the subject of economics in your graduation, you do not have to read this. Please don't make that particular mistake. Do not be under that assumption. Why? I know for a fact I've seen multiple students who are from commerce background or let's say have done BBA or MBA. They simply say I've studied economics. This subject was there in my graduation, so no need to read. I will directly go to the examination hall, solve the questions directly. That would be a grave mistake. Reason being, what you have studied in MBA, BBA or commerce, is it required to understand the subject? Yes. But is that knowledge sufficient to score or clear all the questions from the Indian economy which are asked in prelims and mains? Absolutely no. That knowledge will not be necessary, will not be required for clearing this examination because a lot of it is purely a technical knowledge. A lot of it is technical knowledge. What is asked in UPSC is completely different. That's a reason, no doubt. Compared to a beginner, compared to somebody who has no touch with economics, You are a step above, you are a step ahead. But that particular advantage doesn't mean you'll be able to solve all the questions in GS paper 3 in the mains or GS paper in the preliminary examination. So, my advice to you people, let me start with the beginners. If you are doing the self study, simply follow this. Beginners, there are two options to you. One, you can either read NCERT books, you can start with NCERT books. Somebody will say, but sir, NCERT books, which books? Which standard? There are ninth class NCERT books, NCERT book, 10th class, 11th standard, and 12th standard. These are essentially the four books that you can refer to. You can read. And again, in the 12th class, there is one book on introductory macroeconomics, and there is a second book, introductory microeconomics. Do not waste your time in reading the second book, only the first book is necessary. So, ninth class, economics, 10th class, 11th class, and 12th class. Somebody will simply say, but sir, four books very difficult for me. Is there any alternative? Can I have any other alternative compared to these four books? Yes, there is Tamil Nadu text, Tamil Nadu board. Specifically in the Tamil Nadu board, if you want to read 12th class Tamil Nadu board textbook, you can refer to. But again, will this give you the complete knowledge, complete information to answer all the questions? Absolutely no. Because like many other subjects, economics is divided into two parts. One is the static portion and the other one is the dynamic portion. Current affairs in simple terms. What you read in any of these books is part of the static portion. You will know, right, what is inflation. You will know again fundamental knowledge, not even the advanced level. You will know the basic of GDP. You will know the basic of balance of payment, etc. Is it sufficient even under the static portion? Answer is no. That's the reason what these books will give you is the basic foundation. That's it, basic foundation. Once you get the basic foundation, now you are at par. You are equivalent to the second group of the aspirants, that is those aspirants who already have the background of economics. So now have a look at this. You have reached the level of, right, the second group. In addition to the basics, you will have to read one standard textbook. One standard textbook. And when I say textbook here, reference book. Whether you are a right person who has already a background, who has studied certain concepts in economics in your graduation, or you are a beginner, in addition to the foundation knowledge, in addition to the fundamental concepts that you have gathered from NCERT or the Tamil Nadu board, now you'll have to consolidate that with a standard book or reference book. A lot of you will have a doubt regarding what is a standard book here. And a lot of you, I know, will ask me very simple question. Sir, tell me name of one book which will give me all the answers to the questions which will be there in the UPSC exam when I write. The answer to that is there is no book like that. Do not expect that a single book will give you all the answers. Mind you, book will not give you all the answers that are asked in the UPSC examination. Why? I'll give you one example. Last year, in the mains examination, there was a question. What are the factors which are contributing to food inflation in India? Discuss, elaborate, and suggest, or let's say, write about the measures which have been implemented by the government. You can refer to 10 books in the market. No book will give you the answer to this question. Reason being, listen to me now. When you clear the preliminary examination and start preparing for the mains examination, most of the questions in the mains examination in the GS paper 3 will be from the dynamic sources. That is current affairs. Essentially from current affairs. You will have to read, understand, make notes for current affairs. That is very important because a lot of these questions, not just in the mains, by the way, mains, most of the question will come from current affairs. But in the prelims also, lot of these questions are associated with what is happening in the current affairs. Lot of times, the statements are picked up based on what is happening in the current affairs in Indian economy. So there is no running away for you. Whether you are a beginner or somebody who has a background in economics, no doubt you will have to use a reference book. You will have to use a reference book. But in addition to this, you will also have to go for dynamic sources as well. This is essentially for those people who are doing the self study. Those who will join, let's say, my course, I'll tell you what we will do later. Just give me some time. Now, this is okay with all of you? The standard reference book. And there is no one golden book regarding Indian economy that will take care of, let's say, prelims as well as mains. You will have to focus on current affairs in addition to that. And whichever book you are reading, just make a note of this as well. Whichever reference book you are reading or referring to, do not read from the first page to the last page. Not at all needed. You don't have to read every word, every statement, every chapter that is given in that particular book. Reason being, lot of these books carry information that is not required, that is not needed, outdated, which is provided in the books. Just to illustrate this, I'll give you one example. Very recently, the government of India in the budget made a change in the definition of MSME, micro, small, medium enterprises. Change the definition for MSME. Now, you take any book which has been printed, which you have, the definition that is given for MSME is outdated. It is an old definition. If you keep on referring to the same definition and a question is asked in the prelims or the mains examination, you will not get positive marks. You will get, or you will end up having negative marks there. Rather than getting +2, you might get -2.66 because of the wrong reference that you have done and the wrong, right, let's say, answer that you have chosen in the prelims examination. So a lot of times, some information that is provided in these particular books is not at all needed for the exam. Some information is outdated. That becomes your duty to ensure all of this is updated. And that is the reason I'm telling you, please read, update the current affairs. This will take care of the static portion. Now, coming to current affairs, a lot of you will be essentially worried about current affairs. Sir, how do I take care of current affairs? How do I read current affairs? Point number one, pick up any national daily. Pick up any national daily. It could be the Hindu newspaper or it could be Indian Express as well. Yes, you have heard this right. Do not just jump up and say, sir, how can you say Hindu or Indian Express? My dear, I've seen a lot of students who will start reading Hindu newspaper and within 10 minutes, within 15 minutes, within 20 minutes, they'll simply phase out. They will not be in the zone. They are reading, but they are not understanding. They will spend 1.5 hour. They will never understand what is there in the Hindu newspaper. Why? The language is difficult. The English that is used in Hindu newspaper is difficult, technical. That's the reason they'll simply say, better not read, I will refer to something else. Is there any alternative to this? Yes. Alternative to this national daily, The Hindu, is the Indian Express. The language there is simple. You'll be able to understand the articles there. And they carry a lot of information in different pages. For example, editorials. There might be a different editorial, but over a period of time, when you look at 1 year, you will get the same knowledge as Hindu newspaper only. There is also explained page. You will get knowledge there also. So that would be my suggestion. And those who are asking me, sir, when I read newspaper, should I be making notes? Should I make notes? If you are doing self-study, I would strongly advise in favor of it. I'll repeat the statement. I will be strongly in favor of it. Do notes. make your own notes. And when you make notes, there are multiple objectives of it. You're not making notes for the sake of making notes. If you keep on reading an article, write down 4 points out of it. If you can do that for a period of 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, you will have around 80 pages or 90 pages of current affairs notes with yourself. And at the same point of time, you're also practicing descriptive answer writing. You're also practicing descriptive answer writing. So there are multiple advantages that you will be able to gain by having a practice of, right, let's say, making your own notes. So current affairs, national daily. In addition to this, the economic survey documents which are published by the government, at least certain points or certain areas that you need to focus upon, because UPSC has the tendency of asking questions in the mains examination from economic survey. The budget documents, the budget documents, Yojana and Kurukshetra. Yojana and Kurukshetra. These are the important current affairs sources that you need to refer to in order to keep yourself updated, in order to address the kind of questions which are asked from Indian economy, not only in the prelims, but also in the mains examination. Right? So I've taken care of one, the static source, second, the dynamic sources, that is the current affairs. Now, what if you enroll into my classes? What if you enroll into my classes? How will I essentially ensure that you will get everything that is needed to clear the civil services examination? Simple. Point number one, during the classes, whenever the chapter is over, topic is over, I will give you notes. I will give you handout so that you will have a certain reference material, and this note, I can simply say with certainty, is more than sufficient to take care of the static portion. What about the current affairs, the dynamic sources? Every month we have a program called as UCAN, Unacademy's Current Affairs Navigator. And when you have UCAN sessions, every month I take 2 sessions covering current affairs. Covering current affairs. And when the session is over, where I will cover articles from Economic Times, Business Line, Hindu, Business Standard, Indian Express, Financial Express, all the topics which are needed for prelims plus mains will be covered. I will give you notes. I will give you the handout for you to revise. I will also give you certain questions. Whenever I take classes, I'll give you questions. 5 questions for MCQ practice based on the topic I'm covering on that day. And on weekly basis, 2 to 3 questions for practicing descriptive answer writing. Descriptive answer writing. So now please have a look at this. The notes which will take care of the material that you need from NCERT, or for that matter Tamil Nadu board, or from a standard reference book, current affairs, descriptive answer writing, as well as MCQ practice. Now tell me, if you are covering all of this in addition to the classes that I take discussing economic survey, or the sessions that I take, as well as budget, tell me now, is there any force on the earth which can stop you from answering questions in the prelims as well as mains correctly and scoring very good number of marks? So this is essentially the program that you need to follow. If you're a beginner, this is the plan. Understand what is needed, what are the important areas, what are the important subjects or important chapters within these particular subjects. Make a plan according to that. What do you mean by make a plan? Please have a look at this. Please understand this. Whenever you prepare for UPSC exam, don't just do hard work. Do not be dependent only on the hard work. Focus on smart work as well. Now, some of you will be confused as to what is the difference between a hard work and a smart work. If you look at this particular syllabus, which is for mains examination, there is one chapter inclusive growth. There is this chapter of inclusive growth and issues arising from it. This has been a part of the mains syllabus for many years. Right? When the pattern changed, since then it has been a part of it. And there is also right areas such as government budgeting as well as major cropping patterns, MSP, etc. Now, what do I mean by hard work and smart work? Let's say you start preparing for the exams. You are right, let's say 1.5 months, 2 months prior to the exams, and this is specifically targeting those who are doing the self study. This is where I'm generally worried about those people. Reason being, they do not understand the fact that UPSC doesn't ask or hasn't asked any question from this area, that is inclusive growth, in the preliminary examination. No questions whatsoever. You can check it. But on the other hand, you talk about MSP, you talk about government budgeting. UPSC has asked questions not only in the prelims but also in the mains. So, what do I mean by smart work here? Smart worker will be the one who will realize I do not have to be too much emphasized or too much worried about concept of inclusive growth when I'm preparing for preliminary examination. And the smart aspirant will be the same one who will also realize that I don't have to divide the syllabus into prelims and mains right now. There is a lot of overlap. I need to cover the topics in a comprehensive way right now from the beginning so as to ensure that I'm preparing for the prelims as well as mains. That is what I mean by smart work. Right? So don't simply take up the syllabus, take the references, start reading one by one, and keep on revising the complete syllabus even before the prelims. Absolutely no. You'll be wasting your time because every subject, including Indian economy, by the way, has certain important areas. You need to be focused on these important areas when prelims is nearby. You'll have to ignore these areas after the prelims is over. For example, in the last 5 years, the trend of UPSC has been that questions have been asked on the banking 3 to 4 only in the prelims. Mains examination, not even a single question. Not even a single question. Inclusive growth, one question in the mains, not even a single question in the preliminary examination. So don't just do hard work, do smart work. Do smart work. You can use the same formula. You can understand all of this when you look at the previous year question papers. That's the reason I'm asking you to go through the previous year, at least the 5 years question papers. So let's summarize everything now. If you are somebody who is preparing on your own, what you need to do? First, please go through the syllabus. You'll have to go through the syllabus. That is the first one. Second, you'll have to go through the previous year question papers. How many years? At least 5 years. At least 5 years. Third one, if you're a beginner, you're starting with the subject of Indian economy right now, then start with NCERT, or else alternative to this is Tamil Nadu board. If you are somebody who has already had the background of economics, then you can use a standard reference book to begin with. A standard reference book to begin with. For example, Unacademy has an Indian economy book. If you want to use it, use it. Nothing wrong, because I hope you understand. You can refer to 10 books. Definition of GDP will remain same. Nothing changes. Definition of GDP will still remain the same. Definition of inflation will still remain the same. What is the role of RBI will still remain the same. It doesn't change from one book to another book. That is static. It has to remain same. Right? So standard book. And those who are beginners, start with NCERT or Tamil Nadu. Once you have got the fundamental knowledge of the subject, then shift to a standard book. The fifth point will be current affairs. Use a smart strategy. If you ask me, if you are doing a self-study, if you are preparing on your own, make notes. Make notes. That will help you. Right? And the sixth point, you'll have to solve question papers. You'll have to solve question papers. Sir, what kind of question papers? test series. Test series. Not just the prelims test series, but also mains test series. But to be very frank, from the day one, do not start solving the test series papers. Do not start solving. What you'll have to do? First, get attuned, adjusted to the subjects. For example, let's say you start with Indian economy. Day one, don't take up the test series and try to solve it. You will not be able to solve the question. Lot of these are bouncers for you. So what you need to do? Have certain coverage of the portion first. Have coverage of the portion. And once you have had the coverage, once you have started understanding this particular portion, then I would strongly advise you to start solving test series paper. Right? So these are certain very important points in the form of strategy that you need to follow to ace the upcoming civil services examination. That is the prelims of 2026 or prelims of 2027 and also the mains. Alternatively, this is where my self-interest lies. If you are interested to make the whole process easier for you, if you want to ensure that the process is smoother, if you want to ensure you don't want to struggle with the subject, you want somebody to provide you hand holding services, somebody to give you homework every day in the form of MCQs, in the form of a descriptive answer writing every week, etc. You can join my course, the details of which is available in the description below. That's it from my side. If you like the discussion and if you have benefited from this discussion, do hit the like button. If you're yet to subscribe to YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Thank you. Have a great day.